They don't even know how to communicate to even begin. Learn how to communicate, talk to people, and read. You do those two things and learn how to save 10% of your money every week. And I'm telling you, if you do those three things right there within a 5-year period, you'll see a difference in your life. I teach this principle of communication is greater than love. And what do you mean communication is greater than love?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow, because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming on. Without further ado, let's get right into this one. Tiger, for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to get to meet you, to get to know you yet, brother, tell us your elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Listen, I'm the coach of master coaches. I'm a wealth generator by nature. I love any way to make money creatively, whether it's real estate, whether it's investing money. I'm a great not financial, but marriage counselor, because I'm all about the connection with the helpmate and spouse and how you can generate wealth. So together with my wife, we do that kind of thing, helping out communities. We serve the Atlanta metro area as far as helping out and increasing the neighborhoods out in the metro area as well.
That's dope, brother. And I definitely got to tap in with you because aside from FinCon, I may be in Atlanta next year. So next time I'm around in Atlanta, I definitely got to catch up with you. But Tiger, man, take us back in a time machine. What was he like growing up? What was little Tiger like growing up, man? You said you're a wealth generator by nature, right? Where did that all stem from, man? Take us back in time.
Listen, man, the way I grew up, I just knew from a young child that I was like, okay, it has to be something better. And
Yeah.
I guess for me, it just kicked in naturally that okay, the only way I'm going to come out of being poor and help my family or whatever is if I take action. So from like age 10, well, let me go back a little further than that. I started working like doing little odds and ends about 6 years old. Any way I could make
Damn.
any kind of money. 10 years old, I started to just knock on people's doors and say, you know what, can I mow your grass just to make money? So it was I was so much of a money magnet that in high school I would just pay for my own school clothes and shoes and books and everything, so my parents didn't have to worry about that. So that I'm having that naturally, and then had some things against me, but I'm like, I'm not gonna let anything stop me. So I continued on. I said, you know what? I need to get me, some real estate. So I was like, what's the avenue I can get a piece of real estate early, being I don't have any cash? Military. So I joined the military, got that, 0% down, got my first house, like a year or two in, and it's been like that ever since. So that's a little bit about, quick version of, the little me.
Yeah, let me dive into it a little bit. So you said at 6 years old you started making some money, right? You started doing little odd jobs to make some money, and then around 10 you turned into the neighborhood's best door to door salesman. Pretty much, you was out there knocking on doors, trying to get new leads, trying to get some business, man, generating income by any means necessary. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I always say like I didn't have that naturally. So I always find it fun talking to people who did, right? It took me a minute to get into like this entrepreneurial state of mind where I'm thinking about generating wealth and money. So it's like having that so early on, like where do you think that stemmed from? Like you said, you always knew you had something bigger. Was there someone in your life, like a grandparent, an uncle, or something like that, that was an entrepreneur, or like just had money or taught you some game, or like where do you think it stems from?
Honestly, I didn't have that example in my family. They
Yeah,
were more labor, like proletariats, the working class people that know how to work with their body and not with their
yeah,
minds, and they would leave the world real early because they were sick and all this other stuff. So for me, I guess I'm a visual I'm a very visual person. I can talk a lot, but it depends on how I know you. So I'm more of like I can
yeah,
go in the room and just be the quietest guy in the room, and I'm very observative. So I saw a lot of things when I was growing up. I'm like, that's not good. So naturally for me, it only takes me one time
yeah,
to see something wrong, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. And
yeah.
I just in my mind, I was like, just learning, just like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? I got to earn money. What's the only thing I know how to do? Mow grass, and it just went on from there, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
real.
nah,
That's
that's
real.
the I resonate with that, bro, because I feel like me growing up as well. It's like I didn't have that set role model to like really follow after. So it's like how
Hmm.
I started, making sense of the world was like I just took the parts that I liked about people, try to add that in, add that to the tool belt, and the stuff I didn't like, I just try to keep out. I'm like, damn, that's no good. Let me stay away from that. Let me not partake in that, And like so similar to you, I was like, you know, I was making my way through the world, making sense of the world by seeing what other people are doing and trying to see what's good or what's not or somewhere in the middle and figure that all out. And kind of with all the people I met, slowly but surely I started adding more stuff to my tool belt and started adding more stuff to the side that I don't like, and I try to navigate the world like that. So I resonate with that a lot. And so fast
Hmm.
forward a little bit, you said in high school you was paying for your own books, your own clothes and all that stuff. Like I hear a lot of people, right? They start off a lot of people like they'll start off like entrepreneurial, and like a lot of people lose it sometime, in their childhood, whether it's middle school or elementary, or a lot of people lose it. So like in high school, you know, what allowed you to keep that fire going, to keep making money, to keep hustling? I was playing sports in high school, so it was hard to find jobs or anything like that. I caddied a little bit, but for me, it was just always hard to find jobs around my sports schedule. I was always so busy. So it's like, for you, what was that like being so, you know, interested in getting about that money, being about that money at that age? When for me, I remember it was Fortnite, football, basketball. That's about it, man.
Listen, I had a lot of that going on as well, but I learned early on you have to maximize time, or time will maximize you. So basically,
Mm,
I knew that regardless if I have any downtime, whatever it may be, at that moment I needed money. So how do I make
yeah,
money? I have to use my time to whatever. If I had Saturday and Sunday to, free to work a job, let me use Saturday and Sunday. It's better to have a little bit of money than not have any money at all. And then I had to use the time. So,
yeah,
I just learned how to maximize on time, and I knew that, unless I put in some action, I'm going to lose time.
yeah. No, 100%,
you,
man. You can't make up for
you
lost
can't
time
get it
either,
back.
right? Yeah.
Say again.
No refunds on it. I said no. You can't make
No,
up for lost time. No refunds on it.
you can't make up for it. So I just have that naturally. Like, if like today, if we don't, enjoy this moment right here, tomorrow one of us could be gone. You never know. We
Yeah,
didn't, value this time we have right here in this moment. So yeah.
100%. And so, all right. So now, fast forward a little bit in your journey, right? You said you went to the army, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So you went to the army, and then within 2 years, you used that 0% down loan, and you got your first property. You became a homeowner. So if I'm doing the math right now, what, you were like 20, 21 years old almost?
Yes. Yep.
Sheesh. All right. So at 20, 21 year old, you're already a homeowner. Talk about like what was that like signing the dotted line, like signing the, closing on that property. What was that experience like for you?
Man, I was lost. I mean, I'm not gonna say I was lost because I kind of, like knew, okay, a little buying process, and I depended a lot on the agent. But at the end of the day, if I would have had someone out there that had some bad intentions, I could have possibly, gotten over because of my ignorance and not knowing a little bit more. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I was a little scared, but I was like, man, listen, what's the worst that can happen? At least I'll have a house at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. 100%. So you got your first property, and then from there, where did your story take you? How did you get to like what you got going on now? Because I know you got your hands, dabbling in a bunch of little ventures.
Oh man. So uh to where I'm at now. So I started from the military. I traveled after I exited the military. I traveled around the world for just doing working in Afghanistan, Iraq, Jordan. I mean, all the Middle East and traveling the world. So I made a lot of money. Started making a lot of money working wise, like as just a
Yeah.
working man. Even though I was getting paid a lot of money, I was putting in a lot of time. So that helped me to leverage in real estate. It didn't help me leverage as far as fast as I wanted to because I didn't have really anyone in the United States that knew the game like I knew. I just had the money, so I tried. I just got a piece of property here and there as much as I could, and that right there just helped me out as far as financially, hands down. That killed it, and on top of earning a whole bunch of money. And then I came home from some things in the war zone. I was like, listen, I'm just gonna do whatever I wanted to do, and this is how I know, Jay. This is how I know. If someone ever comes to me and tell me it's not possible to get something done, I would say straight to their face, you're a liar and you're not trying hard enough. Because literally, man, within me coming home, man, I think, man, I did like 5 different jobs. I just wanted to do it just to see how easy it is. And within 5 years, man, I think I made it to the top of you know to the top of each industry, man, in like a 5 year period, just by just
She.
by the intention in my mind. So all the way to Hollywood, everything. I put that intention in my mind, put in the action, and it came to. So that's where I'm at right now, where I got to a point where I was telling my wife, I'm crazy young, man, and I've done everything I want to do in life. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I might as well just, give back. Teach people that, man, you can do anything you put your mind to. You can make money. You can go do it, whatever you want to do. You just got to put the action in, have faith in it, and everything else, man, let it work out for you. It will.
Yeah, 100%, man. I feel like we do it. We live and die by a word, right? And
Yep.
it's just like the what we say and what is possible. It's like for me, I used to joke around like, and people used to think I was like a narcissist, or whatever. But it's like I like you. There's a part of you have to speak things into existence, and of course, you have to back it by action because a lot of people talk a good game and not really getting nothing done. So like, there's a
Hmm.
fine line to thread. But like, I used to jokingly say all the time, like, I'm genetically elite, right? I'm just cut different. Like I used to say it so much that like I got to the point where like you can't tell me otherwise. Like I am genetically elite. Like and it's like after telling yourself just positive things for so long, you start to believe that's who you truly are. And it's like once you do that, a lot of the stuff is like we're enslaved to our belief system, whether it's conscious or subconscious. And so I kind of wanted to ask you because you mentioned to take it back a little bit, right? Earlier on, there wasn't like too many people in the family that were doing what you're doing now, right? As you said, a lot of people were, more blue collar, right? In terms of working with their body or whatever, and not really in the entrepreneurship space at all. So it's like, as you were getting on in your journey, like, were there beliefs and things that you didn't know were stopping you that randomly popped up as you were going on? Like for me, I know one of them was like I had imposter syndrome and I didn't even realize it because like most people with imposter syndrome, it's like, oh, I don't think I'm worthy. I don't think I'm this. And it's like, nah, I'm very worthy. I'm hardworking. I got talent. I got skills. I know what I mean. But then when it came to me charging for my courses and stuff like that, I'd always be like, oh, nah, this is my way of giving back. And it was just a cover up because I didn't feel worthy of charging.
Mm.
So it's like things like that I didn't even ever know that I was dealing with until like I started getting more further along in my journey and things started rising to the surface. So it's like, was there stuff for you like similar to you that you had to overcome and that you found along your way?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. For me, one was, not my father, he didn't graduate high school, so,
Hmm.
he didn't know how to read. So
Yeah.
being that he didn't know how to read, it automatically transitions on to me because he can only teach me as far as what he knows. So
Yeah.
I had that challenge early on, but I didn't let it stop me. Now I mean tons, I mean stacks of books. I read and I constantly read, and that's what helped me progress. So I had that against me. On top of, I had this issue with women, and I learned that, man, that is the quickest downfall to any man. Our success is, yeah, you can be here way up, doing great things, but if you don't have your mind focused on that, and learning how to keep that, and you let a woman come in, man, they could possibly to wipe all of that wipe all of that away because of the intention in her mind. If her intention is not with your intention, you're going to maybe end up losing it. You're going to either
Yeah.
be end up serving her intention, or she's going to have to serve your intention. Either way, if it's not serving together, you're going to lose at the end of the day. That's how I see. So that was one. And then listen, I grew up in, the church, and I talk about this a lot. You know, I watch my mom and older folks, oh whatever in the church. And so as I'm going and I'm listening to what they're saying, I'm like, man, it says that we can have abundance. It says, man, you do things in faith. In faith, you can manifest. You can all these other things. Why don't I see that around me? Why I
Yeah.
don't see that a lot in the world? So I knew right then and there, being that they're saying this, but I don't see it, I had to do something different. So
Yeah.
that right there is what launched me out to like just go in opposite direction. And me going that opposite direction, man, hands down was one of the best journeys I've ever had. I would not change for anything.
Yeah.
That alone.
Now, and I feel you on that one. It was like, because for me, I started going to church around third grade, and it definitely helped shape my belief system. I still go to church now. I'm working on getting my relationship back right with God. Not that I shifted off course, it's just that it's not as strong as I feel like it should be or could be. Feel me? So I'm trying to work on that. And one of the things I've been similar to your point, I was just like, bro, like the literal first words is like in the beginning, like God created, like He created, bro, like boom, it's like, and if we're made in His likeness, in His image, and if He said, "Let there be light," and light came, of course we're not gonna do that, right? Because we're not omnipotent, we're not all powerful, right? But it's like, all right, if we're made in His image, we can do something similar, right? At the
Right.
very least, right? It may not be as quick, it may not be like instantaneously, but it's like I was similar to you. I'm reading this stuff and like, bro, like, how could you say you live in faith and move with such fear and scarcity, right?
Yes.
And it's like for me, that's something me personally I always just didn't understand. It's like, bro, we literally can have like as long as it's in His plans, like everything that we desire, bro. It's like, but everyone lives as if like He doesn't got our back. Like, oh, I'm too
Mm-hmm.
scared. What if I quit my job? What if it doesn't work out? Like it says in the book, right? It's like He works all things out in favor of us. Like it's not He's not out to get us. So it's like, why do we move? It's like as if He is, as if it's
Yeah.
not gonna all work out, as if there isn't a greater plan or purpose behind it. And like for me, that's just part of the reason why like, I just move so fearlessly. Well, I wouldn't say fearlessly. I would say more courageous, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
fearless, I'm scared just like everyone else. I just move forward in spite of it, right? And it's like I know we got my back, so it's like, what's the worst that could happen, right? That's how I think about it all.
That is the true statement, man. And I know this to be true based off what you're just saying, is because I've done it based off of experience, not just reading a book and then coming and teaching something. Listen, I've done it in my from my wealth, from marriage, from handling my children to just being like you said something that was interesting, about having, getting my relationship stronger with God. But, it tells us that God is within us. So when, if somebody, when I coach people, I'm like, okay, if you have a problem with yourself, if you don't have, if you have fear within yourself, you have a fear. You're not one with God,
Yeah,
because when you're one with God, there is no fear. On the other side of fear, there's courage. And courage creates what? Creativity. In the beginning, God created first. That's the same thing with us. If we don't first in our minds think creatively, you cannot implement what God needs for you to do, because what? He's in you, he's in your mind. So you got to what? Get creative and make it come to. He's going to help you along the way.
yeah, no, 100%. It reminded me like one of the deepest things I heard was I got to spend a day with a billionaire. I talked about it on the podcast, but one of the things that he was talking about, like the idea of first creation, second creation, and how we all live two lives, right? The first life is the life we live in our head, and the second life is the life that actually plays out. And so, like, where we are today is an accumulation of our past thoughts, and whether we realize it or not. And it's just like, in order to change our future, how do we change our thoughts now, right? How do we change the life that's going
Yeah.
on up here so that it plays out like how we want it to, how it plays out like the way that it was meant to play out? And so that's something. And another part into it is I think I got this from David Goggins, but he talked about like he wants to like when he passes away and like he's talking to God or whatever. Like this is a David Goggins story, but he's talking about like when I pass away and I'm talking to God. It's like he's like this is what you were made to be, and like he's showing all the stats or whatever. He wants to break all those expectations. Like he want to put so much on the table that that he just shatters every expectation of what he was supposed to be, and just do more and then some and push it. And it's like, man, if we only got one shot here, man, we might as well give it all we got, man. Why? There's like you're never gonna get to re up on your gas tank, so you might as well drive it till the car is empty, right?
It only makes sense, man. And I'm like, oh man, why is it that it's like this big thing that everybody has a problem with? And it seems like, man, to me in my mind, it's easier. What's better than being your best self? If everybody's their best self, what else are we looking for? Because in you being a better you, you're gonna treat everybody like, man, listen, be great. Same thing for me. And the more people that do that, wouldn't we be doing, coming together like we are, creating? That's
Hmm.
fun. That's more fun to me than walking out of my home and then, worrying about if somebody got a gun in my head or something.
Yeah,
That's a lot of fun. But if we can't get that intention in everybody's mind to say, "Hey, you're great. This is all I teach, man. You're great." Okay, if you're not at your great, potential right now, still understand that you're great because greatness begins where you are today, not where you're going in the future. It begins in the mind.
100%, man, 100%. So, bro, let me ask you because you mentioned too about relationships, right? And I feel you said that the wrong woman or the wrong partner, right, could be your downfall. Essentially, is kind of what you were saying. So it's like a lot of people, especially when you get into entrepreneurship, man. There's always that balance. Like people is like, nah, I gotta figure it out. I gotta get myself successful and established. And then I'll think about a partner later. And then there's a school of thought is like, if I find somebody, and I could build with them and we can build something amazing together. So like, I just want to hear like, what are your thoughts on both sides of the, because I feel like those are the two main most popular schools of thought. It's like, all right, become established and then look for a partner, or build with the partner, and so that you become even more established, right? Together as a unit, as a
Mm.
family, as a whole, as one, right? So like, what's your thoughts on the different schools of thought?
I mean, I think it could play out either way, but I, I would just say because my wife and I we got married after we were both established, and it
Yeah.
worked for us because we kind of had the experience of the world, had the ability to grow individually as people, be independent, and all this other stuff, and then come together as one and build up. Because no matter what and how we look at it, each person has to understand their role. So
Yeah.
if we go like biblically, they say it says that the man is the head of the household and the woman is the helpmate. Like it's so hard to say that today, even though I didn't write it. If I say that today, man, I probably will have stones
Yeah.
thrown at me from women. Like, look, listen, it's not me,
Yeah.
but our marriage works out so well because even though she makes great money, whatever, she understands, like, I'm just here to help you, and whatever you have vision, because God gives men the vision, and when he
Mhm.
gives you the vision, is you need somebody strong behind you that you can trust, that has your back, and that can see the vision too, because if she doesn't see the vision, then how does she know how to help you? So she
Yeah.
has to see the vision and understand that it's there to build you, and once she builds you, it's going to help her anyway. Period.
Yeah.
So I think I would say I would probably now I wouldn't put that at the top of my list for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. I was like, for me, you mentioned something about about the vision, right? And it's like, I think what's helped me out is that I have a good sense of where I want to go, and I feel like a man with no vision, like a woman can't stand behind, especially a strong woman, right? Especially a self-sufficient woman really can't stand behind. And so it's like, even if you don't got it yet, like I don't got it popping off yet. I'm on the way there, you feel me? But it's mainly because like I'm just so dialed in as to where the ship is going, and it's something that people can get behind. And I feel like a lot of times people, especially women, will be willing to go on the journey with you if the vision is there. whether you're established or not. At least that's what I found for me. I've been with my girl now a little over, we're about to be 3 years in February.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like it's something that so for me worked out. And back to what you were saying, like how about how you could get canceled for saying that the woman is supposed to be the helper, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like the support, and it's like men protect and provide, right? And that's how the kingdom doesn't get any invaders, and it's the woman's job to then maintain the kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because if there's not the kingdom isn't maintained, then there's going to be nothing to protect and provide. So it's
Yeah.
like both people are extremely important to the
Mm-hmm.
role. Like the kingdom can't function without either or. But people, I feel like a lot of people nowadays get so butthurt about like the roles and trying to put people in the confines. It's just like, well, that's literally like naturally our tendencies. Like I think it's a lot of there's like this first world stuff and the privilege that comes with a lot of the ideologies that come now. There's like you put people in on a shipwreck and we're all stranded out in the ocean and like very quickly we revert back to our natural roles, man. I feel and it's like you feel so for me, man. I just be letting people talk, man. I'm chilling for the most part. My relationship going strong. My grandparents, they're
Yeah.
very traditional. They grew up in DR, man. So it's like that was my role model
Yeah.
for what a successful relationship looks like. And they've been together longer, almost three times longer than I've been alive. They've been together almost 60 something years. So I'm like, man, they got to know a thing or two, man. They've been in the game way longer than anyone I know. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I love that the fact that you mentioned that, and so I wanted to ask you to kind of pivot back to what we were talking about earlier, right? So, um, after you got established, you got your wife together, you started investing in properties, you started working around the world, you've seen the world, and you mentioned something that I really enjoyed, and you mentioned about giving back to the community, right? Like you was like, all right, what do I do now? Like I am established, I got some stuff popping off now, like I'm getting it going. What's left, right? I've seen a lot of the world already, and one of my quotes I love is the duty of the enlightened is to enlighten
Mm-hmm.
the unenlightened. I think I told you that
Yep.
when I podcast I've had
Yep.
a FinCon, and it's something that you're living out every day. So it's like, what made you, you know, want to give back? Because a lot of times, especially growing up in these less fortunate community, it's always like I got to get up out of here, right?
Yeah.
That's the mindset. It's like I got to make it so I can get out. It's never I got to make it so I can pick us up,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
put the hand back, to revive the community, right? So like what kind of inspired that in you to get that started?
Listen, you had mentioned something about the kingdom. And when you understand the kingdom, it's kind of like you have no choice and no obligation because it kind of like naturally should come in once you understand the kingdom. So, being that I understand the kingdom, that means you have love for everybody, from
Mhm.
the richest person in the world to the lowest person on the totem pole. You just in the media, in the a medium in the middle. Like, hey, let's come together. So I understand growing up poor. I understand how it feels. I understand what it's like to be at a point where there's more out there, there's better out there, but you don't have the information, or you can't look at someone and just ask them a question or something like that. I understand that what it's like. So being that I understand from that perspective of not having, and I understand from a perspective of having, it's not that people that have it all together. Meaning that you have people that are very wealthy, have everything they want and still miserable. So I can bring a different aspect to them too. Like, listen, this is where you may be missing out at, why you don't feel whole with yourself. And then on the other side, with a less fortunate, the proletariats, is that you can come to them saying, listen, where you're at today, trust me, it can't get no worse than that unless you make it worse. So focus on, see the light going forward. I'm telling you, if you listen to me, it's going to come through for you. Will it be tomorrow? Probably not. But in time, if you just stick to what I'm telling you, man, look at me. You're looking at it. You're looking at the truth right here in front of you, putting in the work. Nobody gave me a handout. I didn't get a big lump sum of money. I didn't play no football. I wasn't educated or, graduated top of my class. None of that. Just by hard work, faith, and being truth. See, listen, the truth is it says the truth shall set you free. The truth is within yourself. When you don't know who you are, you can't be free. Free is meaning like, man, you got joy. When you go home at night, man, you just at peace. You can rest like, man, I ain't tripping about nothing because I'm at peace. That's being truthful with yourself. I try to tell myself, and I depend on my wife to tell me like, where do you see a weakness in me? Because if you don't tell me where you see a weakness at, the world is guaranteed to tell me where my weakness is at, and I'm not for that. So the truth, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's dope, and that's deep too, because what like that willingness right there, like I don't want that to go over anyone's head, right? But first, before I touch on that point, you mentioned too, like in the kingdom, you gotta respect everyone's role regardless of the totem pole, right? And I feel like that's something that everyone should write down. It's like even whether it's the CEO or the CEO of a company or the janitor, bro, like the job has to get done. And if you try to treat the janitor like they're nothing, right, then event like they're gonna quit, and then you got to do that job yourself. So it's like, never think you're more than or less than anyone else, because at the end of it all, we're all one and the same for the most part, right? It's just how we use the gift we're given, and it's just like I love that. But to now come back, you mentioned too. Damn, I just lost my point. I was gonna say something about Damn, you just said something about what was the last thing you just left off on?
I don't know,
Yeah, I
but
mean, yeah, I'm so in the conversation, bro. Like the thoughts are just coming, man.
nah, but I was gonna tell you, you were
Oh,
talking about the kingdom and the citizen and and everybody working together, and it says, it's in, if you read it in Matthew chapter 5, it tells you the meek shall inherit the earth. The earth is the kingdom. Who shall inherit the earth? The meek, the humble, the people that are humble. The more people that become humble, man, I love you because you should love me. Just because what? We breathe and we man, whatever. Same thing for everybody. Once you get that and everybody humbles themselves, no matter what level you're at, man, things can change, man. Seriously.
yeah, and it's sparking that movement. I feel like a lot of people are starting to wake up. Like the pandemic was a wake up call to a lot of people, and
Yes.
like that kind of sparked this information. It's like, man, we have to keep on sharing the message. We have to keep on being more. And I forget who I was talking about this on a podcast, man. But it was like, bro, make enough money to be just financially independent is like one of the most selfish things you could do, right? Because you're literally just focused on literally being financially independent, meaning you're making enough money to fulfill your own needs. Well, what about all the other people you could help, right? And so it's like the lower you set your bar, right, the more the people who are gonna use it for bad means are gonna have. And so it's like, why not think abundantly? Why not think about it? So you could help the people in your community, so you can help the people in the kingdom, right? So you can help other people grow to where they gotta be. And so it's like a lot of people, it's like, oh, but how can I help? I don't have much myself. And it's like, you don't need to be much. A lot of people try to posture up. See, that's the problem. Like for me, I think I said it right before we started this podcast or during our podcast. Like I said, I don't got it yet, right?
Yeah,
But
you
not
did.
alone. I'm not. That's not going to stop me from providing value, because we all know have things that we can help each other with. We all know things that
Yep.
the other person doesn't know, and that's what I was gonna say too. Um, I was gonna say because you mentioned about like helping everybody out, and I was gonna say like no matter how big you get, you always got to remember that you're just a side character in the next man's life, right?
Yep.
No matter how big, no matter how successful, like you're always just a side character, bro. You're the main character in your life and your life only. And so it's
Yeah.
like, how can you help out all these other people get into the role that they're meant to become, right? To stay in the like with the act with the about
Hmm.
like characters and stuff like that, right? And
Yep.
man, I be going on tangents. I don't know where I'm going with any of this. It's just like I get too
It's
present in the
cool.
moment and the words start coming out. You feel me? So I don't
Hey,
even know where I
I'm
was
with
going
you.
any of that.
No, you cool. But I think that and I think I'm trying to say this so I don't get stoned, you know, because I just try to throw things out there to like just like you throw things out there. Not saying, man, I'm intentionally trying to cause some destruction, but like, man, tell me if I'm wrong. I tell anybody, like, listen, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. You ain't gotta scream at me or nothing like that. But just like, man, I don't know, I don't
Yeah.
agree with that. So me growing up, and I told you, I grew up, you know, in within these confines, of the scripture and Bible, and everything was like, You're going to go hell and everything else, right? So I started to dig deep into it, and I started to just read it for myself. And there's a verse in there that says, "Man, would a man rob God?" Question mark. So I'm asking you, will a man rob God? Is it yes or no?
Will a man rob God? This is a deep question. And the fact that you only gave me a
Oh,
yes or no as the answers,
it's a
will a
yes or no
man
question.
rob God? I think a man would.
Exactly. And then it says right after that, it says, and read it for yourself. It's Malachi 3:8 and like up into like 3:10. It says, "Will a man rob God?" Question mark. So you have to answer before you go to the next, whatever it says next. And it says, "Yet ye have robbed thee. How have you robbed thee in tithes and offering?" So for me, I'm like, wait a minute. Me being the mind person I am, like, I'm by myself, I'm meditating, thinking, like, wait a minute. Well, yes, he will. How did he rob me? Maybe. So maybe I. So what it caused me to do in that moment, I started to go back and calculate. If I would have taken 10% of every bit of money from the time I start earning into the time I'm at right now, dude, naturally I would be set free. Just naturally, not having to invest in real estate, not having to do all these, get 15% interest on my money, none of that. Just naturally. First things first, it tells you God is within you. So if you're not giving the first thing first when you get a paycheck, if you're not giving 10% to God, where is he? It says he's in you. So if you're not giving 10% to yourself, whether it's saving, whether it's whatever, and you're offering yourself something, which is make sure you're putting it away for a future kingdom for your children, for whatever, you could be missing out. I think I started to think about poor people. I started to think about people that don't have, and I'm like, hmm, that's just something I'm like, that could be an avenue right there. What if that was being taught? What if people were thinking like that? How many less poor people will we have? How many less
Hmm.
more people will have houses, down payment for houses and food on the table and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
So let me ask you a question on that thought, right? Because you know, a lot of people, as you know, in the states, are struggling, right, with money, and a lot more people could be doing better if they were just more educated on the topic. A lot of people talk about how much they want money, and if you check the time spent, they don't ever look up anything about money. They don't learn about it. They don't read about it. They don't listen about it. They just want more of it and don't know anything about it, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
want more money. It's like, what you gonna do with it? You don't know how to use it, bro. Like, what do you want more money for? And so it's like, so let me ask you from like your first of all your own personal experience from not having much to having a lot more, right? And then all the people you've been able to talk to and experience and come in contact with, what have you found is the main difference between the have and the have nots?
One is reading. That's number one. And action. Man, I come across so many people that I teach. They're like, oh, they're ready, they're ready. I used to be a trainer. Get people in, they're ready, they want to lose weight, they're ready, they're ready, they're ready. And then you get to the gym, okay, let's just go over here and sit down and have a conversation. That's what they want from me. And I'm like, okay, so we're not being a good steward over our time. You're not being a good steward over our money. And I think it's for one, especially for a lot of people, is that they don't read. Period. Hands down.
Mm.
If you don't read, that's number one. If you don't learn how to use the words that come out of your mouth and use that as your first vessel of whatever you need, you're gonna lose every time. And within a lot of a lot of communities that I deal with, man, they don't even know how to communicate to even begin from the beginning. So communication, learn how to communicate, talk to people, and read. Though you do those two things, man, and learn how to save 10% of your money, every week. And I'm telling you, if you do those three things right there within a 5-year period, you'll see a difference in your life.
No, 100%, man, 100%. I feel like the spoken word is one of the best investments you can invest in. Like if you learn how to communicate, and that's the problem. Like a lot of people, it's like you realize if you're going up against, like go getters, hustlers, people who are really hungry and driven, getting after it. And you're in a situation where it's you versus the next person and you can't communicate well, no matter how good your product is, your services, whatever you got going on is, communication is everything. So it's like you're always going to lose. Like you'll be your level that you capped at is always going to be way lower than the person who probably is sucks and it's not better than you, but just knows how to talk a good game. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're always gonna lose out. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like figuring out how to turn whatever you got going on and just add good communication skills to it. Man, I've been spending a lot of money this year to invest in public speaking because, like, I started realizing there's a difference between the gift of gab and being
Yep.
able to deliver an impactful message. Like, people
Yep.
could talk your head off, and I was one of those people. Like, I can still talk your head off if you let me, but I just know how to give you some games now too. I can give you some game and talk your head off. But like before, I was just talking people's heads off.
Oh wow! Hey, but you're telling the truth, man. And I teach this, and is the principle of communication is greater than love. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Communication is better than is greater than love. Before God, you said in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. So that's communication right there. So did love come first or communication?
Mm.
If you're gonna have a great marriage, you have to communicate. You can't have love if you don't communicate. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
for us, man. We get into a creative design, whatever. We can have the creativity in our head all day, but if we don't communicate, you can't share that love. Creating is the love that we're giving to people, but the communication comes first. So I try to teach people, man, and I teach this anywhere I go. Learn how to communicate. The sad part is, man, a lot of people think that they're communicating when they're not.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will say what they need to say, but when the other person is talking, they shut out. They shut out after they hear like a key word, and they just
Yeah.
don't hear anything. They're ready to respond off the key word.
Selective hearing.
Yes. So that
Yeah.
it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So it's a challenge, man. And the quicker you get to where you need to be, the quicker that everybody else gets to where they need to be. I really think we can make an impact, man, out here in the world, and not just being selfish with it's money, man. Money, you can get it. It's an
Yeah.
abundance of it, man. Listen, tell them to go print some more money, and we'll have more money. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, man. But I think an issue that we have in the world is that more people want more money and they don't know how to give back more money to help other people, and so we can all come up and meet somewhere in the playing field on the 50-yard line, shaking hands, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No.
Maybe I'm far out. I'm far out there, man, with it. Maybe I don't know, but I'm like, man, the only way I can see if I'm out there in left field somewhere is to communicate that to people. See, like, man, does that make sense or it doesn't?
Yeah. No. 100%, man. And back to what you were saying, man. It's like, bro, it's a lot of communication skills that I learned and picked up on that I realized that I didn't have earlier on, and becoming aware of them, man, it's been changing my life and just opening up so much more opportunities. And it's not about sounding professional. Just because you have a customer service voice doesn't mean you know how to communicate well, right? That's another thing too. But like knowing how to really, as I said, deliver a message, talk to people, listen, right, be receptive. Body language goes into it a lot as well. Then you start getting into like you know the micro politics of like people and understanding how people react to certain things, and like you start mimicking and mirroring and reflecting when people are talking. You lean one side, they lean one side, and stuff like that, and you can get real deep into communication because
Mhm.
it's not just like the spoken word as well. There's a
Right,
lot that goes into
right.
it. But man, Tiger, you dropped a lot of gems to man. You talked about how you started mowing lawns at 10 years old, door knocking out there getting after. We talked about how you ended up going to the army, getting your first property in your early 20s, man, and then from there traveling the world, doing what you got going on to the point where you're at now, giving back to the community, helping people put on, learn about money, learn about wealth, learn about communicating and having the right mindset to help get them there, man. So it's like, where can we find you at? Where can we get more of Tiger if we wanted to keep up with you, and to connect with you, and just hear more about what you got?
Listen, I'm always dropping something in the beginning of the year. I'm like every week I'm going to be dropping like every day something. If one person watches it and gets it, I'm cool with that. So I'm Tiger Wyte, Wyte on any platform. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm there. So you find me there. I just started a coaching online coaching program
Okay.
where guys coming in, we're helping the minority community, the young men. It's for all. If you have men out there that you feel like just need some encouragement, some some gems or whatever, and they're getting it for free, make sure they tune into that. Starting December the 4th, it'll be on my channel as well, so I'm excited about that.
Amazing. That's all gonna be in the chat, man. So, without further ado, let's get right into the famous five, man. Question number one: what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
Don't wait for other people to catch up to you. Don't stop. Just keep moving, because if you wait for other people to catch up to where you're at, it's going to hold you back in time, and you would never. It would be time that you would never get back.
What is the most admirable trait a person could have?
Love for themselves, courage. I would say, courage.
If you had to change someone's life, but you only had one book to give them, which book would you recommend?
Think and Grow Rich. Obviously, hands down, I think that will be my first. Yeah,
What is the legacy that you're working on leaving behind?
bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth. That's my legacy. That's what I'm working on right now.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today, what is the first step you recommend they take?
Reach out to someone, and let that be the beginning of starting your journey. Just reach out to, if someone like myself or someone like you, and just that encouragement from someone like you or myself, that can just it can just be that spark of energy that you need, to tell you that you are great, that you can do great things, and you have it in you to do whatever you want to do. So I would say just reach out to anybody, somebody that's going to motivate you and hold you accountable.
Amen. Tiger, thanks again for hopping on, man. I appreciate the conversation. And man, I can't wait for this to go live and everyone sees it, man.
Oh yeah, man. I really enjoyed it, man, and I'm hoping, man, that you find some free time in your schedule, man, to come on to the show, man. So some of these people out here that we share the information with, man, would love to see a young man like yourself just doing great things out here in the world.
Appreciate it, brother.